Lee, first of all, thank you for meeting me today. You've just come out of prison, you've served 4 weeks. Let's go back to the beginning, tell me what's happened.
Well, basically I was looking through Facebook one day and I noticed a lot of memes that were getting posted on the Facebook page.
Okay.
And they were shown areas near where I live. Like one was just 4 miles away, one was the hometown where I live in Egremont. The picture was of looked like a dinghy, a boat, and a lot of people running up the beach on Whitehaven Beach.
Okay.
And all I did was I posted that picture asking if it was true. And then the other picture was one that had been out everywhere. It was Westminster Bridge, and it showed a lot of people of Asian descent with knives and a little child with a Union flag on his t-shirt crying. And that had been viral, that picture. So there was like 3 pictures in total. There was them 2, and then there was another one from Egremont Town Centre showing the main street in Egremont. And Egremont has like a crab fair. It's been going for like 300 years, this crab fair, and there's been threats of it that it wasn't going to be on this year because of funding for the council. People have been back and forward talking different things on Facebook, on socials and all that about it. And then this meme come up of the main street, and it said Egremont Crab Fair 2025. It had all the bunting across the street and a lot of Asian people standing cheering. So it was a bit of a comic, it was meant to be like a mockery, comical meme, and a few people had posted that. So I posted the 3 pictures asking if this is true. Never thought anything of it until a couple of days later. I was looking at some of the comments on one of them, the one from Whitehaven Harbour, and there was people calling for them to get their heads cut off, send them backpacking, do this to them, like nasty racial things in these comments. And I started arguing with a couple of the people in the comments that it's not racial. It was like I simply asked the question: was this true? What would you do if it does happen to you, and it does happen on our turf? You know. And so I got sick of having these arguments, and I deleted the posts. So then I put a statement on my Facebook. It's still on my Facebook account now, apologising for the previous posts, and if it offended anyone, that wasn't the reason. You know, it's there anyway. The statement, but I thought that was it. That was all. That was done with. And then I come in from work a few days after that. At the end of that week, on the Friday, I'd been out to the shop, and one of my friends said there was police all around my house, kicking the house I'm renting in Egremont. Okay. They'd been kicking the door and banging all the windows and all that. So I stayed clear of the house till they went.
And how many police officers are we talking about?
At this time, there was 4 there that time, and then they'd left. Then I went home, I grabbed a bag, because at the weekends I usually come through to here where we are now in Carlisle, and I visit my partner who's through here. And so I did that, I came through here, told her what had happened. She went, what would that be for? What would the police be there for? I said, I have no idea. But I ain't getting arrested for like a wrongful thing or a mistaken identity and be kept in till Monday until they can find out.
You had no idea at that point?
I didn't even know that it was for me. I thought it might have been someone looking for someone who used to previously rent that flat. Okay. But the last thing I wanted to do is go and address the police to say, hi, what's going on? And then go, we're locking you up. And then I never get an interview or anything over the weekend. And I wasn't getting, I didn't want to get locked up. Yeah, okay. Because I have got previous, like 15 years ago, I'd been to jail before, 15 years ago, for a GBH. When I'd hit a guy and he broke his cheekbone when he fell on the floor, so I did time then, but I've never done anything else since then, you know. So last thing because I'm known to the police, the last thing I wanted was to be arrested that night and kept in all weekend. Okay. So I came through here, and then on this Saturday there was a knock at the door. I looked out the window and it was a police constable, just one, a woman on her own. Okay. And I thought, I'm not answering the door. And then she went. It was like very quick, she didn't bother, she just went. And then I was upstairs doing some work up in the attic loft space up in the house, and I had a massive bang. This was about an hour later, a massive bang, and I was like, what's that? So I started coming down the staircase from the loft, and another big bang. That was in the door flew up, and all these police came walking up the stairs with the taser out.
Kicked the door off.
Yeah, they'd used one of them big battering ram things that absolutely destroyed the door. And they came running up the stairs, one with a taser out, hands behind your back, blah blah blah. Okay. And so I went with them. As I walked outside, there was about 8 or 9 coppers. They were everywhere. Okay. I'm like, I asked the guy, what's going on here? Why so many? Well, we don't know you. We don't know you from Adam. So they put me in the back of the van, took me to the station. The police in the van at the time wouldn't talk to me. They wouldn't tell me what it was for.
So at this point, you didn't even know for the memes?
No. And then we were waiting outside the police station to actually get in with the vehicle through the slide lock door, into the security area. And I must have been in the van for about 40 minutes. And they had a shift change while I was actually in the van.
Okay.
The two police who were in the van had to go. So another police officer got in the van and I started talking to him. So what's going on here? What is this for? And he said, we've had intel telling us that you were inciting, the warrant was for inciting racial hate on social media. And apparently I was going to get somebody, I was rallying people. The reason I was in Carlisle was because I was rallying people together to cause some sort of trouble in Carlisle city centre.
And is that true?
No, it's not true. Not a true. But even the shops had been put on I don't know what it's called now, a lockdown or something like that. Yeah, because there was talk of that there was going to be some trouble and rioting in Carlisle. And I'm like, how has my name got into this? How am I involved? How? And I just couldn't get my head around what was going on.
And was this at the time when all the protests and the riots were happening?
Yeah. So then they locked me up, put me in a cell. A few hours later, I was interviewed. The police officer showed me screenshots of the photos and the comments in the photos.
Okay.
And he said I basically was inciting racial. I go, how have I done that? He said, well, because I put the post on there, I've allowed people to make these remarks on there.
So you're being held responsible for other people's comments because you was the original author of the post?
Even though I had deleted those posts and apologised and put that statement on.
So did you delete the post and apologise before police even got involved?
Yeah, that was done before that. That's what I even spoke to the police officer, told him this, and he said, yeah, I've seen that. I've seen it.
So how did the police know? Have you been reported?
They said it was a 101 call. It was a 101 call.
So someone's actually called in and reported it?
That's what they told me in the interview.
So what happened after the interview?
So I was put back in my cell. He said, to be fair, even the police officer who was doing the interview was a bit gobsmacked by it. Yeah, he was, but obviously he can't comment. He won't comment because it's his job.
Yeah.
But
it's pretty harsh.
Yeah.
You know, you've got police officers kicking down your door for 3 minutes.
Yeah. Then he said, I'll take this up to the CPS, see what they say. You could be getting out, you could be bailed, or you might be remanded to go to court on Monday. I'm like, remanded, but why? And he went, because of everything that's going on in up and down the country lately, they're clamping right down on all this. I'm like, this is going to be great. So he took it to CPS. I was locked in myself for another few hours. They come and got me, come and told me that I was getting charged, but not charged for the offence that the warrant was for, inciting hate and racial, all that kind of stuff. It was a lesser charge of malicious communication and a public order offence.
Okay.
So when we were standing in front of the custody sergeant, he read out what he wanted me charged with, and the custody sergeant didn't even know what he was talking about at the time.
Okay.
And I'd love to be able to get the video footage from inside there off the police, but it's highly unlikely they'll give me it, because then I questioned the custody sergeant and went, you don't even know what to charge me with, do you? Because I haven't even done anything.
Yeah.
And he's like, no. And it's like, well, why have you just questioned your officer? You don't even know what it is. So we got into an altercation, bit of an argument, and he told me to go back to, he took me back to the cell. The police officer took me back to the cell, didn't even give me my charge sheet or anything. So then I was kept in till Monday morning. I went to Carlisle Magistrate Court, where I got a duty solicitor, because I hadn't had time to get a solicitor before that. I never even thought it was that bad. I actually thought I'd walk into court, he would get laughed at, and I would come back, I'd be back out of court. I spoke to the duty solicitor, and then he told me, you are guilty though, Lee. You're guilty of sharing these pictures on your social media, so you are guilty. So I advise you to plead guilty to what they're saying to you in court today. I'm like, but I haven't done anything, there's no crime. And he's like, you're guilty of sharing these pictures.
So at that time, were you going to plead guilty?
No, I was going to plead not guilty, because in my defence, I didn't deliberately set out to upset anyone, cause any racial hatred or incite anything, you know. I just shared it, asking the question, well, are these even true? Is this happening now in Whitehaven? You know, I asked the question. But then when I got the feedback in the comments, I deleted them because people were being nasty in the comments about it. So I said, I'm not guilty of any of that. He said, but you are guilty of sharing the pictures. So you will be, if you go not guilty today, Lee, I will tell you right now that we remand you. That's what the solicitor said to me. They'll remand you. I said, I can't get remanded, I'll lose my job. I had a respected and a responsible job where I'm at, you know. And I couldn't have never 1 hour in jail, never mind a year or a month or 2 months. So I'm like,
did he take your job or anything into account?
He didn't listen. It was almost like he was buddies with the magistrate, if I'm being perfectly honest. It was like he was doing the magistrate's work for him, like he was helping him to get his little quota, because it was almost like he had a quota, and I need to show that I'm doing something, you know. It was. I felt like it was a setup from the start, like he set me up to fail, because he basically blackmailed me into pleading guilty. I would be remanded, and he knew I couldn't afford to be remanded. I would lose my job. He said, you plead guilty, you could get a fine, suspended sentence, something like that. And even that I thought was going to be hard. I would be hard done to. A fine for posting a meme. I was like, what?
So at that point he's saying, if you plead guilty, you're going to walk.
Yeah.
Do you regret pleading guilty?
Of course I do.
Yeah.
Because I'm not guilty.
So tell us what happened then.
I went into the court. They read out all the what the description of the pictures were, and what the charge was. And then the guy even mentioned, which is not supposed to, but he mentioned my previous from 15 years ago.
Okay.
And that had no bearing on this case at all, but yet he still brought that up, the prosecution. He brought that up, and if anything, that would maybe have swayed the magistrate for doing what he did as well, because he's not supposed to try me on something that's ancient, you know what I mean? It's like, but so they said everything, and the magistrate said a few things, and then he said, how do you plea? And I'm like, I looked at my solicitor, and he went, nodded his head like guilty, and I went, guilty. And he went, right, in light of your early guilty plea, I'll take a third of any sentence that I'll be giving and passing down today. But due to the uprise and all what's been going on up and down the country, he said some crazy statement about he had no choice basically to set an example of me. And he said, I'm going to sentence you today to 8 weeks in prison. And also he asked me, which I thought what was crazy as well, to pay him £150 for him being in court. I had to pay £150, and that had to be paid before my sentence was over. And I thought, how would that even happen? Obviously I'll get someone else to pay that for me while I'm inside, but what if I had nobody? It was a crazy little demand. He passed the sentence.
He sentenced you to
8 weeks. And
how long do you serve?
I did 4 weeks.
So let me get straight. You served 4 weeks in prison for sharing 3 memes.
Yeah, that weren't even illegal. I hadn't even broke the law. It turns out now that I haven't even broke the law. They used an existing law, malicious communication, and they got me to plead guilty to malicious communication. Malicious communication is sending something from one electronic device to someone else in a message form.
Do you believe this is a miscarriage of justice?
I do, yeah, definitely. And I would love to be able to overturn this. I'm seeing other people now who decided to plead not guilty. They took their cases to trial, and they had done actually a little bit more than me. They said memes with, or memes, whichever way you pronounce it, with other people, with depicting violence and inciting stuff, which was a bit worse than mine, and they've had their cases overturned and threw out of court. And I just feel like, because of my guilty plea, I went and served the 4 weeks. I know it's only 4 weeks. A lot of people will sit and think it's only 4 weeks, but it's the implications it's had. It's made me lose my job, which was a respected job. I had a decent position. I'm not allowed to leave the country. I'm going to probably find it hard to get another job. And legal fees to try and contest this is going to be astronomical, isn't it? So I haven't even got the job to actually pay for to do that. So it's like I'm stuck. I'm stuck now with this conviction on my record, a conviction that I didn't need to have, because I don't think I've done anything wrong. And like I say, for the last 15 years or so, I've been of good standing. I've done nothing against the law at all.
So you stood in front of the judge. You've got your solicitor that's giving you this advice again, and you're thinking you're going to walk out of that courtroom, and he's sentenced you to 4 weeks in prison. How does that feel?
It was 8 weeks, but 4 weeks I did. Yeah, it feels it's bitter. It's a bitter taste because I'll be honest. When I first was sentenced, and some of the news, when I was on the phone to my partner, she was telling me what some of the people had been saying, what the news had been saying about me, saying it was racial and I'm a racist and I'm far right and all that kind of thing, and it was like, couldn't be further from the truth. And I'm thinking, I'm going to come out of here now and everyone's going to hate me, thinking I'm racist, and anyone who knows me knows I'm not. I shouldn't have to prove that, but it felt like I'm going to have to come out now and prove that I'm not. And it's like, well, I got a shock because as the weeks went on, the support that I've got up and down the country of people, because they know obviously that I haven't done anything wrong, and my hat off to everybody who's backed me and would give me that bit of support back. So
what was prison like?
Awful.
Okay.
It wasn't awful in the way that I wasn't picked on, I wasn't mistreated, I never had it hard. It was just awful because I didn't fit in there. A lot of gangs in there, they segregated the cells. So I felt like the oddball. I just felt a bit out of my depth. I'm 51-year-old. I went to Doncaster. They sent me all the way to Doncaster, which is like 4.5 hour drive away from here. So even to get visits, I couldn't have got visits because people travel down that far. It's impossible. So I don't know, it was awkward. It wasn't hard to do the 4 week. It's only 4 weeks, but it was awkward. It was awkward being in there.
And how are you adjusting to life now you're out? I mean, you've been named, you've got your photograph everywhere, you've been branded far right racist thug.
Well, it's made me see the whole the way the country is in a different light.
Okay.
It's changed my opinion on a lot of things.
How's it changed?
Well, I start seeing it for what it really is now. It's corrupt, in my opinion. So I got a raw deal there. I never got justice. I got a raw deal just because of some hooligans smashing shops up down the country.
Yeah. Do you think they made an example of you?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I do. I think, and it worked as well. I've spoke to hundreds of people on my socials, and it has worked because everyone else is scared now to post anything on social media.